Welcome again to Optimal Play. I'm Brandon.
And I'm Kyle.
And this is our third out of three parts where we're about to refer you to our previously recorded thoughts on the cards belonging to the last two characters in Lord of the Rings Journeys in Middle-earth.
Which are Beravor and Bilbo.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, Kyle, what are your predictions for what you thought of Bilbo?
Oh man, I hope I said he was great, because I just finished our Bilbo campaign and had a great time.
Yeah.
Well, had a good time with Bilbo at least.
You got eaten by a warg at the end.
Did. That was probably tasty. Just saying.
Probably. You were well nourished.
Yeah, I was definitely well nourished. Had a few cakes before I went down.
So this is our final part of the Lord of the Rings Journeys in Middle-earth core box, and then we'll be back in the coming weeks with the Shadowed Paths expansion. All new characters. Those ones we talk about without ever having played them, so even less informed reviews.
And still haven't.
Fair. We're gonna get to that someday soon. All right, enjoy. Anyway, where were we? Bilbo.
Bilbo.
He's a hobbit. You might have heard.
I have.
He's very witty with 4 wit and 6 inspiration threshold, so he can pile it in. Which is good because his power says before you interact, look at the top card of your deck. If it is a card with a fate icon, gain 1 inspiration. But he can only equip 1 hand item. Yeah. How do you like Bilbo?
I love Bilbo. I really think he's quite fun. Though I don't know if that's colored by the burglar trait or not, or the class of burglar. But I will say one thing about the one hand, even though that seems pretty bad, as the card pool stands now, we just don't have that great of a second-handed option for anyone. Like, I guess he could, a harp in a second hand. You could
take a harp. Yeah.
Like there's not really any great benefit. He usually takes the dagger because that's a wit attack, and he's pretty formidable with the dagger at 4 wit.
Right. Yeah. Dagger is, as someone pointed out, you have a sharp wit when you're Bilbo. That was, I think, in our. Actually, I should have plugged. We have videos that are playthroughs of some of Lord of the Rings card game. I think that was in one of those, and I think I threatened to end the video right there. Want to read us Bilbo's cards?
Yes. I just need to pull them up. Which ones are Bilbo? These. He has the Tookish part. Before you test, you may discard the skill to test wit instead and gain 1 inspiration. It has a success on it. It also has hide keyword. He has 2 of those, and those are both a success. Well nourished is a food traded thing, which I actually think matters for Bilbo for some reason. After you prepare this skill, flip 1 face down, or 1 fear face down, and also has rest 2. Simple desires. At the start of your turn, you may discard the skill to scout 2, then gain 1 inspiration for each aid, food, or song card in your play area. So there you go.
Yeah.
And then The Road Goes Ever On, which is a song, if anyone's familiar with it. During your turn.
Everyone sing it with us.
If we were with my friend Daniel, who I played this game with, he would sing it for you. He's a big Lord of the Rings fan.
I want to see that.
During your turn, you may discard the skill for you and each nearby hero to move up to 1 space.
Yeah. Okay. So his success cards. I actually want to compare this to Aragorn's because I do think that the testing a skill instead of another skill is an underwhelming ability. But isn't this?
This is better.
This is just better than Thorngill because it also gives you an inspiration. It's a success card.
It also has success on it.
Yeah. So you're less likely to want to leave it in play. But yeah, Bilbo just has 2 copies of a card that's better than a very similar card in Aragorn. That's story of Aragorn's life in this game.
But otherwise, I don't think anything really is great. Road Goes Ever On, pretty nice. I do prepare that when I see it. Just a free move, one space can be really helpful. You hate to take a travel action and then move one space to take an interact action and then be like, well, sucks.
Have you ever leaned into the food deck archetype?
No, but I'm going to.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting, and I don't think we have quite enough. However, I did in my campaign with Bilbo once, I did pull a Hobbit Cakes trinket, which is like, the items that you get throughout the game, and it is food traded, so it actually
really
counted towards this ability.
I haven't come across that one.
Great.
Interesting, because I'm actually flipping through the burglar cards, and I'm like, okay, there's no other food, so if you're playing Bilbo as a burglar, at least, it's not like you're going to get a lot of food in play.
Yeah.
And then these cards that count. What was that? Sorry, I'm sure you actually sound fine on the video. Oh yeah, yeah. That actually sounds great because you're when something's counting like for each of a trait you have in play, like you're very limited because you only have 4 slots. Sure. And one of them is taken up by the card that is looking at the other cards. Yeah. So yeah, if you can somehow figure out how to reliably get some trinkets with a trinket with the food trait, all of a sudden that's not a bad card at all.
Nope.
It's not a game where you can do that.
Nope.
Okay, Bilbo's often a burglar.
Mm-hmm.
So he's self-sufficient. That's right. This is what you are in our campaign. It starts in play, has no success icons, and when you test, if there are no nearby heroes, you may convert 2 fate to 1 success. And it has hide. And then he's got 2 copies of quiet. If you would discard hidden, you may gain 1 inspiration and discard this skill instead. And it has hide. Okay, so self-sufficient is definitely worth talking about.
Oh God, is it ever? Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything else in the game that allows you to, it might be like convert 1 fate into a success, with your inspiration, or maybe you even I think there was one skill we read that was like you can convert 1 fate into 2 successes when you're defending with a super high level guardian. But just to be able to walk into any test and be like, well, no one's near me, so I'm just going to test it. Oh, I drew 2 fate icons and 1 success. That's actually 2 successes, nothing paid out of pocket.
Right. Yeah. I will say it's not that great if the test is only 2, because a lot of the time you might get 1 fate, 1 failure.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of the only downside.
Yep.
It's a good card.
Also, in a time of need, are the best card in the game.
Yeah.
Would automatically give you 1 success.
That's right, actually. Time of need, and I'm fanning out the burglar cards right now. I see there is another double fate card in here.
Mm-hmm.
So buy that when you can. This is extremely annoying to be on the team of, though. To be like, no, all my abilities benefit nearby heroes. And you're trying to stay away from me. So frustrating.
Yes, indeed.
And then quiet really leads towards kind of, I think that, well, we'll look at Pathfinder in a second. That's like sprinting. But I think that this is the most that we've seen yet that a class or character really revolves around a keyword.
Mm-hmm.
I think even more, even though I guess the Guardian builds around or has a lot of abilities that revolve around the guard keyword, I don't find it oh yeah, I'm going to guard every chance I get.
Yeah.
That's yeah, this is you're going to stay hidden all the time as Bilbo, or probably as any burglar, and quiet can help you do it. It's just
a good card.
Yeah. Spend your hidden. You not only are still hidden, but you gain an inspiration and put a success back in your deck.
Seems okay.
Not a bad day. All right. Level 3?
Yeah. So we got Word of Fortune. When you or a nearby hero tests wit, you may discard the skill to add 1 success and scout 1. We've seen that kind of thing. And it also has hide on it. Sneaking. While hidden, you do not provoke attacks. Hide and sprint 1. And pockets. At the end of your turn, you may discard the skill to equip an unequipped trinket from the inventory and rest 2.
Interesting. I don't know that I've ever really taken note of the card Pockets.
Pockets is a great card. Late campaign, nothing beats Pockets.
That's so interesting. And again, maybe it's higher player count, but I don't spend a lot of the campaign with more trinkets than players in a 5-player game, right? Like because you generally give a trinket to each player, like why would you opt to not give at least one to everyone? You'd have to have 6 campaign trinkets before this is all that useful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so definitely a low player count card, but super interesting.
Yeah, I think when we were playing our 2-player campaign, we had something like 8 or 9 trinkets by the end of the campaign. So Pockets could just keep on fetching things throughout the game, and just, and some of those trinkets are very good and very powerful.
This does rotate out the trinket you already have, right? Like you only have 1 slot, so it's gonna discard it from play.
I don't think so.
That's not the way you played it. It sounds like
that's not the way I played it. Only because I think when you have a trinket, it says you can only bring one with you, but it also says when you find a trinket, like in the game, it says you immediately equip it. I don't think it gives you the choice of immediately equipping. So I figure that that would affect it in a way. But I don't know.
Yeah.
We'd have to get back to you on that. But yes.
Okay, please do. Yeah, just issue a follow-up video.
Sounds good. Apologies, most likely. Sorry, I played Pockets wrong. It's not that good.
Follow us on Instagram for Kyle's apology eventually.
And sneaking is really good. I like sneaking a lot.
Yeah. I don't.
For someone who's trying to stay hidden, not provoking attacks, seems great.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you do not provoke attacks is just extremely strong text. And then while hidden is something that if you've at least built your deck to be hidden most of the time,
the thing that's going to happen.
Seems good. All right. Level 7. The suspiciously titled card, What's in My Pocket? Or actually, What is in My Pocket? If you are attacked and would discard hidden, discard this skill instead and gain 2 inspiration. And it has guard 2 and hide. Yeah. In a weird card for a 7 XP card, it has no icon on this second copy of Self-Sufficient.
Mm-hmm.
Hidden Blades has a fade icon. Your other skills with hide have strike 2, and it has hide and strike 2. And then Unseen Strike, 2 fade icons. And when you attack, if you discard hidden, add 1 hit and lethal, and it has strike 2. So, what is in my pocket? A title that I keep laughing at whenever I read it, because I'm a very mature person. Yeah, it seems like a no-brainer if you're already
hiding.
The only downside is that you have to, if you're a burglar, it's one of the basic cards. So if you're still a burglar, you've got 2 copies of Quiet, and like how many of these do you really need? Mm-hmm. Right? These hide replacements.
But I think this probably replaces your Quiet if you're in burglar mode. So instead of preparing Quiet, you prepare
So you just leave the Quiet in the deck because they have successes and practice instead. Totally. Yeah. Yeah, another Self-Sufficient can make you twice as likely to be annoying to your team. I think it stacks, but it's not that useful if it stacks. It means that you could, if you got 4 fade icons, convert.
I think you only take this Self-Sufficient if you're deciding to move on to a multi-class, because the other one stays in. There's really no, there's no incentive to discard the other Self-Sufficient from play.
Well, the incentive is it has the hide keyword, but
I mean, yeah, but you'd rather be annoying to everyone than hide once.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah, Unseen Strike is good, but Hidden Blades is meh.
Okay, combo question. How do you are my rules expert, by the way. Ever since you taught me about prepping weaknesses, I just think of you as the Lord of the Rings, Journeys in Middle-earth rules expert. Yeah. So if What's in My Pocket replaces you discarding hidden, then did you discard hidden for the purposes of Unseen Strike? Does that question make sense? Unseen Strike adds lethal if you discard hidden.
It's a completely different scenario. What's in my pocket?
Oh, if you are attacked.
If you are attacked, and then Unseen Strike is when you attack.
Oh, so Quiet is different from what's in my pocket. Quiet doesn't have that aspect. It's anytime you would discard hidden. Oh, so that seems a lot better.
Yep.
Because I'd rather just avoid being attacked and then discard my hidden for the extra hits.
Sure.
Or extra success. Yeah.
But yeah, I guess you're right. Your new question is if it combos with Quiet, and I don't think it does because you don't discard hidden.
Bummer. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, again, seems like maybe Burglar's a good class to rack up some XP in and then switch out.
Yeah, definitely. Speaking of great XP cards, get with these 12s real quick.
Please do.
So we got Quick Thinking, which has a success on it. After you prepare the skill, Scout 2. Seems okay.
It replaces itself, but when you play it.
Before it even is gone. After you discard a boon, you may discard this skill to gain a different boon. Sprint 1. And then we have Embrace the Darkness, also a success. When you test, if you are in darkness, convert 1 fate to a success. Before you hide, you may suffer 1 fear that cannot be prevented to not discard that skill. Hide.
Oh. What's the flavor of what's happening there? You're taking on fear in order to keep your what's in my pocket rather than discard it when you want to hide.
Yeah, I feel like it's very flavorful of like the One Ring and Bilbo in The Hobbit, where it's like you have to embrace the darkness and in order to stay alive and be good at what you're doing.
Fair enough. All right, I'll buy that. Quick Thinking seems nuts.
Yeah, Quick Thinking is very good. I mean, like the actual like flavor. I mean, not the flavor. The actual text on the below the after you prepare and scout is like pretty good. It's not great, but it's pretty good. But it's versatile. It can get you a new boon. It can allow you to sprint.
It goes well with hiding because if you're trying to hide a lot, you're kind of the only type of character currently in the game who is regularly discarding boons. Right? So this primarily seems to go with that. But also it makes Emboldened actually useful because it converts it into another boon when you would have to discard it because there's no enemies around.
Sounds about right.
But yeah, I think most of the time you'll be playing this prepping another skill because it lets you scout too, and then probably sprinting with it so that you can get it again as soon as possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
They seem both kind of like good, but not like game warping. Yeah.
No, I agree. I think they're both very powerful. And Embrace the Darkness is so situational with it has to be dark.
True. Yeah. Some quests don't even have darkness. Although the expansion, I think, deals with like the mines a lot and forests. So I expect a lot of darkness in those campaigns.
Sounds about right.
So look forward to this card getting better soon.
Yes.
Last but not least, because least is inarguably Aragorn.
Won't get off that train, I'm sure.
Give us Beravor.
All right. So this is my other well-rounder, by the way. This was my other thought of a well-rounder.
Okay.
She is human. She's pretty well-rounded on her stats. She has 3s and 4 out of the 5. She's
the only one with no 4, right?
I believe so.
Which is, I think, kind of a pretty big disadvantage. She doesn't have anything that she's great at.
I would agree. She has 4 of her inspiration threshold, and once per round, rather, after you sprint, hide, or strike, you may scout 1. Tell me what you think of that.
I think it's quite strong. We've talked a couple times in this discussion about how good cards that replace themselves are. This makes most of your cards replace themselves.
You're very right. I haven't played Beravor very often, but I mean by very often I mean ever. But when I've seen her being played, I feel like for whatever reason, it just doesn't trigger that often. But maybe again, suboptimal plays.
So we'll get into when we get into her cards. I think we'll see more of why, and it's partly Pathfinder. I actually think that she at least she plus Pathfinder is one of the most like problematic designs in the game. In our 5-player campaign, our friend who was playing Beravor, like her turns were as long as the rest of our turns combined, because it was like sprint. Now I'm Beravor, so I scout, and now I've prepped something new. That's another sprint. Now I've explored, so we read all these tiles, and then the Pathfinder cards give you more actions and things when you explore. And she was just exploring, at least early in the early going of a journey map. She was just exploring like half the map per round, and spawning lots of enemies in her wake generally. and it was so, the turns were so like convoluted that I guess they made sense to her, but generally the rest of us were sitting there like, all right, we're taking your word for it that you can do all this and that your turn is still not over.
Yeah. I mean, I know I'm kind of breaking rules by mentioning another game, but it's kind of like a Silas turn with quick thinking, going in and out of his discard pile. And he's just like, well, I had 3 actions. Now I just took 9, and
that's an Arkham Horror reference for all of our Lord of the Rings only viewers.
Yeah, which I think is not a ton of fun to watch, but it is what it is.
The actual rule that you were breaking is, and it's I don't know if this is apparent to the viewers of the Arkham Horror discussions, but we don't talk about the promo investigators. We pretty much just don't. Yeah.
Turns out.
Yeah, they're sold in books that no one should be spending $15 on. I don't know.
I mean, do you read the books or do you just take the cards and like, $15, well spent?
After reading 2 of the books, I was like, if I were to buy more of these books, I would not be reading them. And therefore, it is not worth $15 for that one card. Anyway.
Let's get into
Beravor, like everyone else, has cards, and they are Into Hiding, a failure card that says during your turn, if there are no enemies in your space, you may discard the skill for you and each other hero in your space to become hidden, and it has a guard too. Ways of Old is a success, is a tactic for what that's worth, and says when you test, you may knowledge. It's also a knowledge. That is not what the card says, though. When you test, you may discard this skill to convert 1 fate to 1 success and scout 1, and it has sprint 1. She's got 2 copies of that. Fateless says when you test, you may discard the skill to convert all fate to successes, just better than Time of Need, by far, right?
I think so.
And Gift of Men. During your turn, you may discard this skill to discard 1 fear, and it's got 2 fate icons. So does every... Okay. I was wondering if all the heroes have 2 successes and 2 fates, and they are just sometimes concentrated on 1 card and sometimes not. But Bilbo actually just has 2 successes and 1 fate icon. So I guess Beravor just has a leg up for having a double fate in her innate cards.
I guess so.
What do you think?
So I have actually never played Beravor and never like seen any of these cards besides for like, oh, maybe this person played it once. And Into Hiding actually sounds really niche, but really good. Like being able to like quick discard this card and put everyone hidden. So if you're playing like a 4-player game and you can just, oh, look at this, we're all hidden. We all have this boon now.
Every hero in your space, like this is one of those cards that is ridiculous if you draw it in your very first scout of the game when you're all in your starting space.
Let's go first, please.
Yeah. Later on, you're not going to really be in the same space as a lot of people.
Yeah.
So it's a it's a card with no icon. So you leave it in play until the stars align, and you can make 2 or 3 people hide probably.
Yep.
I don't know. I think you're a little overexcited about it.
I could see that.
Ways of Old seems great. So does Fateless. Like she has 3 cards that just help her pass tests no matter what type of test. They're not focused on a certain skill. I think that is actually I'll glad now that I'm looking at these and thinking about this, like I'll take note not having a 4 skill for having these cards in my deck.
Yeah. No, I think these are really good.
Yeah.
Like, besides for Gift of Men, although it has 2 fate icons, which is nice, it's not great. The rest are just like great passive abilities or, discard abilities.
Yeah, she's just really good at tests, which is good because it's something you do now and then in this game.
It's kind of how you win sometimes.
Yeah, pretty much. And then they also, I've complained about how much she sprints, they also have sprint on them. So if you want to use them for that, you can. And it's a good way to not have them sit and play for very long since they're success cards.
And you know what else sprints? And that's the Pathfinder.
They sure do.
Starting off with Trailblazer. Before you sprint, gain 1 inspiration. And then it also has a sprint keyword, 1. Paths Unseen. There's 2 of these, and they're ridiculous. After you sprint with this skill, you may place another hero in your space without provoking attacks. And it also has sprint 1.
Yeah. So all 3 of the you're not wrong about Pathfinder being a sprinter because all 3 of their basic cards are sprint cards and care about sprinting.
Mm-hmm.
Paths Unseen. I know it contributed to how ridiculous Beravor's turns were in my complaint because it was a pause. Let's talk about who wants this teleport.
From 14 spaces away.
Yeah. but it's ridiculous. The only other way that I'm aware of in the game to essentially teleport is there's a tile that does it, and it's only when a tile, Mistwalker, I think it's only when a tile is explored, so it's much more niche.
Yep.
And it doesn't work on battle maps at all.
Mm-hmm.
And this just works anytime you want.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's not much to say about it. It can allow you to do those kind of like pointless side quest type missions where you're like, you know what, you go take care of that. As soon as you're done in that pointless corner of the map, I'll just zip you out.
It's a great point because, Lord of the Rings tempts you with a lot of trios of searches that clearly have like some reward at the end, but you just don't have time to do them a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Or rather, you think you have time, go do them, and then run out of time.
That's the unfortunate way. Yeah.
This lets you do it, which is super sweet. I wouldn't say that the rewards for those are usually so strong that like that this is this adds a lot of the fact that they're good for helping you with side quests like makes it a stronger role. But
out of places with enemies, it can do so. It's so flexible.
Yeah, it's real good. And then the 3 XP cards are Word of Warning. When you are nearby hero tests agility, you may discard this skill to add 1 success and scout 1. Okay, and it has sprint 1 because it's a Pathfinder card. We've seen a lot of those. Baited Trap. When an enemy moves into a space with another hero, you may discard this skill to apply 3 hits and pierce to that enemy. And Trail Sign. After another hero moves into a space, you may discard this skill for that hero to choose and either move 1 additional space, become hidden, or interact with a search token. Oh man, that one's got a lot going on.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, Trail Sign, I feel like it's got to be one of the best out of these 3.
Yeah, anything that affects all heroes, no matter where they are, is like worth looking at. Whether it's worth putting a failure into your deck is maybe debatable, but free actions are always good.
And I feel like you almost always use it to interact with the search token, right?
Probably, yeah. Like the move is like half an action, and search is a whole action. So like that is kind of the most objectively strong thing to do with it.
Yeah, and maybe if you're like a Bilbo and you want to become hidden and you don't have a way to do it, you take the hide. But other than that,
yeah,
I think usually search.
And Baited Trap just seems like a worse. It's a worse Falcon companion. It does the same thing, but it has to be at a certain time, and it's worse than Elena's. Now I'm blanking on the card, but the one that does 3 damage and stun. Like, I'd much rather do 3 damage and pierce or 3 damage and stun than 3 damage and pierce.
Yes,
that That said, that's one of the best cards in the game. So there's a lot of room beneath that to still be decent.
Yeah, I mean, it still potentially could, like, I think sometimes like Goblin Scouts or something have 3 hit points and 1 armor, which could like effectively KO one of those.
Yeah, that's true. But most enemies have more than 3.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Super situational, pretty bad.
Yeah. All right, 7s.
All right, we have Ambush. When an enemy moves into a space, you may discard the skill to attack that enemy, if possible, and add 1 success to the test. Strike 2. These are also, all the 7s have fate icons. There's 2 ambushes. A shortcut. After a hero explores a tile, you may discard the skill to place your hero in their space without provoking attacks, and scout 1. It also has hide. And find a way. Before you sprint with this skill, choose to become determined, gain 1 inspiration, or scout 1. And it has the sprint 1 keyword.
So why is it a shortcut and not just shortcut? It seems like that could have been a good Arkham reference.
Yeah, I could have.
Maybe they were avoiding them. So Ambush is, I think, the only XP card that there's just 2 copies of. Right?
Yeah.
So you just can have 2 of these.
I feel
actually,
like,
yeah. And maybe it's so good you might want to.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a really great card. I think it's even better when it's in a character who has a ranged weapon.
Because the enemy doesn't have to move into your space.
Yeah, when an enemy moves into like a keen-eyed Legolas.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you moved from 8 acres over that way, I'm gonna hit you.
Jeez. Ambush, yeah, just triggers whenever. Well, I mean, I guess what it already says is when an enemy moves into a space. So it just becomes like really true. It's just anytime an enemy moves, Legolas, add a success and go to town.
So think about like a situation where Legolas has 2 ambushes prepared and the boss is lumbering towards them. It's like, oh, you moved into my 2 range, I'm going to hit you. Oh, you moved into my 1 range, I'm going to hit you.
You're dead.
Yeah. You're done. Like I had the extra successes. Yeah. You have no shot.
Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah, I think that's the highlight. A shortcut is another teleport, which is good. But it has to be you, and it has to be when a hero explores a tile. So it's much more niche, I think, than the other one.
Yeah, I think it's level out of Pathfinder. If you no longer have the basics, then maybe you take this.
Take a shortcut, yeah. All right. Well, let's
bring us home.
We're just about ready to stop with Unstoppable. It's got a success, and when you test, you may add 1 success for each skill with sprint you have prepared, and then discard this card. And it has sprint too, so it counts itself.
Mm-hmm.
I keep inserting commentary into reading the cards. And Honed Instinct. After you sprint, you may move 1 additional space. Your skills with sprint have strike 2 and hide, and it has strike 2 and hide, but not sprint. All right. How do you like these?
So Unstoppable's fine, but Honed Instinct is silly good.
Yeah.
It gives any sprint card essentially a travel action.
Yeah, and a lot of sprint cards are sprint 1, so this doubles their distance. Right. Yeah. And yeah, and then the bottom right on it, your skills with sprint have strike 2 and hide. Like
it's nice.
Yeah. Those are the other 2 keywords that Beravor cares about. So if Beravor is your Pathfinder, then that just opens up that flexibility.
True.
But yeah, it's mostly about the sprinting. And then Unstoppable, actually, like, I mean, it's one of the rare success cards. It's kind of a no-brainer to prep, right?
Yeah, because it essentially gives you that success.
Yeah, because since it has sprint, it counts itself, and so it gives you success at a time of your choice. It's during a test, so it's like a success you can save until you need it. And if you have other sprints prepped, it might even be more than 1 success. So actually, I think that this card is probably the better of the 2, and is actually like really good.
I didn't really think about the fact that because it doesn't seem that interesting. But yes, you're right. If you have at least one other sprint card, you're having a 2 success hold whenever you want it.
Yeah, it's like it's one of those things that is, or one of the rare cards that it's just always worth taking out of your deck.
Yeah.
Like unless one of the other cards in your scout is really clutch and you want that card, like you're just always going to prep this.
Yeah.
You'll never stop prepping. Unstoppable.
You heard it here first.
We did it. Nearly 2 hours in. Our quick conversation. Yeah, I paced it. I've got one last sip of beer. All right. Oh, good. And I choked on the last sip. Kyle.
All right, we got a video.
Fill the air while I gasp for air. What are your thoughts on the core set of Lord of the Rings?
Has some good cards. It has some bad cards, namely it's an amazing game, amazing mechanics. We had some fun tonight. Yeah.
I'd say I will probably be a much better player of this game after having done this exercise.
Critically thinking actually helps you, turns out.
Yeah. I'm gonna be much more aware of what people can do and what my options are for multi-class and that kind of thing. So I feel like I got a lot out of this, and now I'm going to be better at this game that I complain is too easy. So
there you go. Definitely have to go to hard mode.
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready for hard difficulty. Maybe on a future video I'll come crawling back and be like, "This game is not easy, guys."
I was wrong. And then we'll have a Brandon apology video right under.
Yes. Underneath I've already forgotten what you were supposed to apologize for. That was a rule.
That's what it was.
Yeah, someone will remind us. Someone will comment and let us know that we were wrong and that Kyle's apology should be triggered.
Like expecting the video within the next 3 days.
All right. Well, yeah, this was definitely it was fun. It was an experiment. So we are really eager to hear if you're still with us after this 2-hour video, eager to hear what you thought. And if you would like more videos like this going into the nooks and crannies of board games. I would say suggest other games, but we kind of have to have a baseline level of familiarity with them. And so it's a little hard to say, like, just suggest any game. But let us know. Especially if there's anything that we've already covered on Optimal Play, whether you've seen us streaming it on Twitch or there are videos on our channel and you think it'd be fun to see some deep dive conversations. Definitely let us know what you'd like to see there. And if you didn't like it, like and subscribe and don't comment.
Yeah.
Easiest.
That's the
positive feedback only. Yeah, that's the road to self-improvement. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for joining for this marathon, Kyle.
A pleasure.
See you again soon. I think at a minimum, we plan on doing this for Shadowed Paths soon, right? Yeah. Which will be a little bit different format because we plan on opening that box and giving more of our first impressions of cards as opposed to our seasoned expert takes like you got here. So,
where one of us was seasoned in this character and was like, no, they're actually garbage.
Exactly. All right. With that, let's get out of here. Thank you again for watching. Until next time, be optimal. So I think on that one, we covered the outro kind of already.
Yeah.
In case we forgot to say like and subscribe, please do.
There and there. I have no idea. That was a guess. Make it happen, though.
Yeah, I'll make sure that there are buttons all around
Great.
the video. So wherever he just pointed, you'll find it.
You will find those buttons. You're welcome.
We'll be back in coming weeks with our first impressions of the all the cards in the Shadowed Paths expansion. So look forward to that. Kyle sure is.
I'm very, very looking forward.
Until then, be optimal.
Oh goodness.
These could not be better.
Yeah.